Right, today's video is a little bit of an interesting one because I didn't really have a theme for the video. I've been off doing other jobs that I can't really film on, and I've been sort of like missing off YouTube for a while, so I thought I'll do a little video today because the job that we're on enables us to do it, and I thought I'll give you a little bit of a day in the life of a plasterer. But things happened. The ceiling went off and we basically lost the ceiling, so I'm going to show you what happened and how to deal with it. But at the start of the video, it's sort of like a day in the life of me. And then also, as a few little bonus extras, I'm going to show you different things about the fat that you can use when you're troweling with plaster, spray bottles, and using the typewriter method when you're cross troweling a ceiling. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Here's the next little introduction that I recorded. Oh, you'll see. Let's just get going. Right, in today's video, we didn't really have a plan or a theme for what we were going to do about. So it was going to be like a bit of a day in the life of me, but then we started having little problems. So then we created a theme, what to do when things start going wrong. So let's get into it. Right, so we thought we'd do a little video, only because you haven't seen us for so long, because we've been on some crazy jobs. We're getting this little living room ready, and yes, we are using hook-on beads, and they're useless, by the way. The only reason we've got these is because, not knocking the people that do hook-on beads, they're just not as good as what they used to be. They do sort of grab, voila, like that, but they pop off as well, so you've got to put a couple of nails in them just to make sure they stay still. Like so, yeah, these hook-on beads are great if you're working over plasterboard. They usually work on plasterboard, usually. Sometimes these little barbs, they've got like little spikes inside them. I mean, they're a pain in the backside when you slide them out and you catch your skin on them. But they usually work on plasterboard, but them little barbs usually stick out a lot more than what they do. So I don't know if the machine that makes them in the factory has worn a little bit because they're not as spiky as they used to be, so they pop off a lot easier. And they just basically, when you're going over old walls, forget it, you've got a nail. The only reason I've got these is because I buy in bulk from the wholesaler. I'll buy like 10 boxes of beads at a time. And at the time, they were the cheapest ones. So, because I'm a bit tight, that's what we got. Right, so whilst Kieran is putting the SBR on at the job, I've nipped off to come and get some board finish. We had a little bit, but not enough. So you haven't seen us for a while because the job that I'm on is a massive job. Well, it's turned into a massive job. It was a little job, but it's actually now a massive job. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. There's a wagon backing in behind me. But yeah, it's turned into a massive job. And the thing of it is, it's one of those sort of places where they've got, in the house, they've got security cameras everywhere. They've got ram ballards behind the electric gates. It's not, I mean, I haven't asked them. I'm sure I could ask them, it'd be fine. But it's not the sort of place where they're going to want me filming, so can just get some of this plaster now. Yeah, it's not, I could probably ask them if I could film there, and they'd say yeah, but I know for a fact they wouldn't feel comfortable with it, so I don't want to make my customers feel awkward by asking them to film at their house. So that's why you haven't seen us. But today we're doing a little living room. Kieran's putting the SBR on, it's beaded up, and I'm at my local builder's yard. So having a sand delivery down there. And another little thing as well, I try and shop at this local builder's yard as much as possible. The fellow that owns it is my mate. He used to be a plasterer, and his mate, two blokes, absolutely top fellas. It's a little bit more dear to come here. They've got all the stuff we need. It's a little bit more pricey, but I'm supporting local fellas. It's not big businesses, you know. It's not Travis Perkins and Hughes Gray. I do use the big merchants, but I try and use these guys as much as possible. Cost me a little tiny bit more, but do you know what? You get a better service. I can phone these boys up on a Sunday and say, do us a favour, I need 3 bags of finish today, I'm desperate to get a job done. And they'd come and open up for me. So, you don't get that with the big merchants, do you? Anyway, let's get loaded up. Right, as well, the job that we're on, not this little living room that we're doing now, this is like just a little job that was squeezed in between, but the main job that we're on, my mate, a builder, came out to see me on the job, just to see how we're getting all these timbers out. I'll show you a little video of how we're getting these timbers out. Like I said, I can't record on the job, but I'll just show you a little clip of what we're doing anyway. This stuff is a nightmare to get out because it's in behind this, behind here, so it can't come out that way. It's locked into this brickwork here, so it can't come out that way. There's nails in it holding it in, and it goes up behind the roof here. So look at all these millions of holes I have to drill in the thing to get it out, and that's just one little piece. We had the same on the corners. The soil stack was round it, so that had to have a million holes to get that out. It was up there, diagonal. Yeah, it's under there. You guessed it, the window is all tied into it. We've had to cut screws off from the window frame because the window frame was fixed to it. Look, the roof is fixed to it. Everything is attached to this cladding, and it's flipping, it was built to last. But me mate the joiner, he popped up and he builds houses and stuff, and we borrowed his extension lead. He's just phoned me, so I'm going to go and take his extension lead now because it's only round the corner where his job is, take him his extension lead back. Now the reason I'm telling you all this is, this house is going to be on TV. There's been TV crews here filming him. I think the show's called, I don't watch much telly, The Worst House on the Street, I think the show's called. And what it is, they get like the most rundown house, and then they get it all up nice and fancy. So, and he's the builder on the job, so we're going to pop by there and drop his extension lead off. And I don't know if the film crew's there, but if they are, it'd be good, won't it? I'll film them filming him. I'll probably get told off for copyright, but anyway, so we'll get cracking, we'll go there now. Right, here they are, look at him, there he is up there, my mate. You see him? Zoom in a little bit. There he is, look at him in his natural habitat. Hey Wayne! What have you done to the place, mate? What have you done to the place? See, I can film him now. He's used to being filmed, so he's alright now. He has flipping Channel 4 here filming him. There he is. Bit of free publicity for him there. Where's the film crew, mate? Am I the only one filming today? You're the only one filming today, mate. I said I'm going to get them all on camera. Hey? Yeah. There's Matty.
This is your next rendering anyway, kid.
Oh, lovely. Is this one of those eco roofs where they grow grass on the top to make it like carbon efficient? Yeah, mate, cheers for bothering me that.
Yeah, see, it's that. I've got to fucking break that out. Have you not been in?
Only when we were working over the road.
Mine, is it?
Oh, have I given you the wrong one?
That's not mine.
Thinks we tried to diddle him, look. That's my one. I mean, you can see how easy we got that mixed up. They look similar, don't they? The front of the house. And he's left the wallpaper on in here. Look, the wallpaper's still on. There's no roof. Well, look at this at the back. What's it going to be, this place, mate? Oh, flipping heck. Is it another floor?
No, this is the kitchen.
This is his kitchen here.
Just the kitchen.
Flipping heck, there's a good set of bifolds going in there, isn't there? Right, yeah, I was right. It'd be Channel 4 at Christmas. Worst house on the street. If you tune in and watch that, you can see one of my mates, Wayne, the master builder. Right, let's get back to my job now. And I've picked a little bacon butty up for Kieran on the way back. Only because I'm such a good boss. What are your little presents? Okay, so check this out. The customer took all the coving down for us. So we've got to make it good up to here and here. But then look, as soon as the coving ended, there was cables sticking out. Like that's what I've just buried them in the wall a little bit. Look at this one over here. You go like this. So they're in the wall all the way up into the coving, then they stick out just behind the coving. So I don't know if that proves that electricians have always been lazy, because when this was built, they couldn't be bothered that much. That little tiny little bit, you just have to clip them at the top. No, couldn't be bothered. So we've just chopped them into the wall a little bit, and we're going to put some scrim over them so that you don't get any cracks there. Now, ideally it'd be lovely to go around with some bonding and fill all this out, but it's not too bad. There's a few little deep bits, but we've got to get this done in a day, so we'll get this with finish. It's not too thick for us to get some of these little patches with just with finish whilst we're skimming. Whilst we're on the first mix, I'm at the ceiling, the front of this, Kieran will get a few bits, and I'll go round and fill some of the other bits out with what's left of the skim, the finish, and then next mix they'll be good to skim over, rather than having to go and buy a bag of bonding that we didn't account for, and just for the sake of these little things having to mix up separate buckets and wash out and all that kind of, we'll just do it with a bit of plaster. I have got a proper cold chisel, but we're not mentioning names. It's gone missing, so now I'm using an SDS bit instead. And it'd be nice if this was attached to the SDS drill, but that also is somewhere else. Things you have to put up with, man. You could say that someone would probably lose their head if it wasn't screwed on. That's it now. Very flush. All this has been well sealed with SBR. Sand and cement, once it's fully dried out like this, is super high suction, so the SBR will work a treat on that. And we've also scrimmed the ceiling line, because what you find is when you take coving down, usually behind the I have to put some more scrim on here, but usually behind where you took coving down, you never bothered scrimming the ceiling line because the coving would cover any crack. So when you top coving out, make sure you always put some fibre tape in. You know, there's a little bit up here where Kieran's put it on. Look, it's not even on the, he's just put it up there on the ceiling. Oh, I'll tell you what. You know, I'll put it on the joint there. He was going to Kieran just made a little noise like he was going to tell me something important, why he'd done that for a specific reason. Was there a specific reason why he didn't cover the joints?
It wouldn't stick.
Oh, it wouldn't stick, so we didn't put it on. That was the main reason. Anyway, we've solved that mystery now. And now, are you ready to mix?
Yeah.
Come on then, let's get this show on the road. It's 25 past 10, and by the rate of progress, we could potentially be here till 7 o'clock tonight if we don't get started. Because we've got the coving missing, and there's a little bit of a deviation in the ceiling there, first order of the day is to just fill that out a little bit flatter, like so. And I'll do that right the way down, and then I'll come down it that way to make sure it's nice and levelled off before we start putting the ceiling on. And I'll just do this as I go round. You could go right round the whole ceiling first doing this, but it's fine doing it this way. We'll just sort of do it as we go. So like that, all the way there, and then Oh, what's your snag a screw? There we go. Lovely. Doing the same little process again, but this time, when I get so far, I will just come over here, put a bit more on there, and just make sure it's flat that way. Now, I'll show you something very exciting. I'm literally putting this on. The SBR is still very tacky, so I don't think it's had enough time to go off, and I think underneath this paint, there's maybe just one coat of paint, there's a grey, what's it called, car-like finish, because this, look, literally, this is just going off the minute it's going on the ceiling. I've literally just put this on and it's, you know, it's going off as I'm putting it on. So, I'm going to put this first coat on and then we'll get a second coat on and see where we're at with it. We may have to change plan, but the important thing to do is whenever anything seems to go off on you, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. So that's it, it's first coated, but look at that. First coat, that's usually soaking wet, so it's bizarre, isn't it? I was going to put the front of the chimney on and some of the window reveals, but I think we'll just be concentrating on the ceiling for now, making sure we get this spot on. So I'm going to get another coat now and we'll see, we'll assess the situation after the second coat and see what that's like. Okay, so the interesting thing is, I wanted to make a video today because I haven't really done it for ages and I didn't really know what we're going to make the video about. But now it's becoming quite evident. Today's video is going to be about when things start going wrong. So, to be fair, the second coat is going on quite nice because I put the first coat on very neat. There's no big lines in it, so second coat goes on easy when it starts going. Look at it when it starts going off. But the second coat, to be fair, up to now, seems to be staying lovely and wet. So that may have solved the situation. But I'll put the rest of the ceiling on, get back to where I've started, and I'll come back to you and we'll see what's going on, where we're up to. I got any plaster on my head before I start talking on the video. Yeah. Right, so we'll give it the second coat. We've got to get a few little lines up. Give it the second coat, and let's see what it's like. It's a little bit too far gone on, so there's a bit too much suction still. So at this point, what I've seen in the past is a lot of plasterers start panicking, going like flipping lunatics, as fast as they can, splashing it with water and everything. I'll show you a little trick that we do, and it involves just leaving it for a little bit. What happens is, as the plaster, I'm going to tell you a little bit about plaster now. I've done a video and I'm going to put a little link in now, or there, I don't know which side it comes on, but anyway, click on that little link, it's about timing. But basically, when you're dealing with plaster, you've got things that it does, it dries out and then it sets. Now what we've got here is, we haven't got a problem with the temperature, it's not too hot, and we haven't got loads of wind blowing through. The stuff isn't setting because it's got accelerator, mixed with dirty water, or any of that sort of stuff. So what the problem that we've got is there's too high a suction. The background is pulling the moisture out of the plaster too much. Now I think that's because We've gone over the SBR when the SBR hasn't had a chance to cure properly and completely seal the ceiling. And I think that there's a high suction car-like finish plaster just behind one coat of matte paint. So, that being said, we know now that we're dealing with high suction. We give it 2 coats and it's still drying out too fast to travel and get a nice job. Now the thing with plaster is, as I leave it and it starts to set, this plaster that's on the ceiling will start to seal the ceiling, because if I go over it again now with another coat, a 3rd coat, very wet, tight coat, if I do it now, the suction will still be sucking through. So what I'm going to do is leave this for a little bit, and as this starts to set, I'm not going to let it start going dark, like dark patches where it's really gone off, set solid, but as it starts to set, the plaster sort of, I think, crystallises and it seals the background a little bit. So I'm just going to leave this now a little bit, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then give it a nice wet 3rd tight coat, and it'll come down lovely. So instead of running around like a headless chicken, screaming and flapping, we're professionals, okay? We're just going to leave it for a little bit, and you'll see. So we'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes now, and what I'm doing now is, if you can see here, I'm just getting rid of any of these lines, just because the next coat is going to go on nice and tight. So just get them flattened in like that. Any big lines, you know, there's not many of them. I do put it on quite neat, but basically now that's the condition of the ceiling. So I'm going to give it a nice wet 3rd coat now. It's had a little bit of time. Let me just show you. This is what it's like now. If I touch it, I can just about leave an impression in it, but it's not sticking to my fingers whatsoever. Okay, so that's ready now for the 3rd coat. So there's no panicking, no flapping, no running around like a headless chicken, you know, squealing. Just let it pick up a little bit. Now that will, as I said before, that'll seal the ceiling itself to a certain extent and hold back the suction, because we've let it go in a little bit. So now we'll give it a nice wet 3rd coat. Look how excited he is, because he knows we're going to have to stay a little bit later. Come on, mix up. So you get a big bumps out of it. Here's a lovely creamy mix now as well. He looks after me, don't you?
Always.
Right, so this only works in certain circumstances. So what I was saying to you before was, if you watch that video on why timing doesn't work, you'll know about the different variables that you're up against when you're plastering. This only works when it's high suction. This won't work if there's wind blowing through the room. It won't work if it's too hot. It only works on high suction backgrounds. So I've just wanted you to do this method, thinking you can get out of, you know, any situation where you can't. This will only work if the plaster just sucks in a bit too quick for you. And sometimes you may start losing a ceiling because you put too much on. If the ceiling's too big for you, and in that situation, if you would say the ceiling was 10 times as big as this, and you got back to the start and you're about to start trying to look and it's gone off a little bit, by the time you've 3rd coated it all over the whole ceiling, you get the same thing again, because the plaster's just setting, you're just not going quick enough. So in that case, what you'd be better off doing is flattening the ceiling, getting all the lines out like you've seen me do, and then just 2nd coat as much as you possibly can, and that way you're not going to lose the whole ceiling. Just a little bit will be sort of left, and then you'll have to skim that at, you know, the next gauge. You have to just re-skim that part of the ceiling. But hopefully you never do that. Hopefully you never bite off more than you can chew. I've got a video on how to do a rolling gauge, that can help you if the ceiling's massive. So, but sometimes if you get caught out like we happen here, if something just happens, because things just go wrong sometimes, and all of a sudden you get a super high suction background, then this is one way of solving it. Yeah, let me show you a little trick. Look, you're not a real plasterer, so you can't do that. We'll have to delete that one. Now remember, the whole key to this was the fact that we let it pull in first. We didn't third coat straight away. We let the plaster set just a little bit. If we'd, excuse me, I'm still poorly by the way. Still got a little chest infection. If we'd third coated this instantly, the suction would still be pulling through the wet gear, so it's only because it's set a little bit that this works. So there we go, we're back at the start now, and that now, I mean, it's not as wet as I would like it, but it's okay. You know, I'm not having to flick. What you don't want to be doing is, if you're having to flick water on, when this is like the flattening in now, this is the first go over without putting any extra plaster on. You want to be doing it dry. If you're having to use a lot of water when you're doing this, then you're still sort of falling behind with the stuff. And this, I'd say, is about the limit of what I'd be able to do dry, so, you know, it's fine, it's okay. It's just what we're up against. I always put my fat on the side of the bucket. Some fellas absolutely hate that. I know my dad used to hate it. When he was young, I always wipe my fat off and put it on there. Oh, Kevin nearly fell over the dust. Only because if I ever need a little bit of the stuff from the first flattening, I've got some there. I can use it, you know, if I don't know what could happen, but you know, if I managed to dig in with my trowel or something and take a big chunk out, I've got some plaster that is still quite thick that I can use. The fat from later, I'm telling you about the fat again, the fat from later on in the mix, you can't, you know, as we're giving it the second wet trowel, the fat that comes off then, you can't use that to fill anything because it's just like dusty, milky, horrible stuff. But that still got some body to it, so we can use that. So I keep some there.
Wipe the beard.
Are you filming me or not?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I've got some in the beard, I know, I can't help it. I can't see it. I need to shave the flipping thing off early, but the little fella likes pulling on it. The little Kirk, little 6-month-old Kirk likes swinging you from your beard in the morning. So now we're flattened the ceiling, it's come down quite nice. So we're going to give it the first wet trowel now. Now, what we've had to do is an extra step, which is a third coat, but also because we were, you know, trying our best with this, we haven't put on this side. I was going to put the ceiling on and get this side of the room out of the way and the window reveals. So the second gauge, we get the other walls. So because of that, because of this ceiling, it's going to put us over now, because we're not going to be able to finish this in one mix and do a nice job of it. We could. I could go to the clappers and put it on, but I'd rather take the time and do a lovely job. So because of that, this job's going to go over now, and we'll be back. We'll come back tomorrow and skim all the walls. It's Friday. We've had fun with the ceiling, so we'll just be getting this finished off and calling it a day. Never start panicking and flapping. There's one thing I can't stand. It's people getting all wound up and, oh, we need to go faster, water. Just be chilled out and deal with any situations. At the end of the day, what you've got to keep in mind is you're the professional, that's why you're there doing the job, and they're not having a go themselves. So if you're, having a meltdown, it doesn't inspire much confidence in anybody around you, does it? Sometimes things happen, and now you know a way of getting over it, so you don't have to worry about that ever again. Little trick up your sleeve, you can just put another wet coat on, let it go in a little bit, another little wet coat, and you're okay. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it again though, If your third coat didn't work, I wouldn't really say put a fourth coat on, because if your third coat hasn't worked, there must be something else, there must be another variable, Maybe there's something wrong, your water might be contaminated. Could be heating pipes on or something like that, Don't just keep putting coat and coat and coat on, because, obviously there's something else at play if that third coat hasn't fixed the problem for you. So it's coming down. Absolutely lovely. You wouldn't know there was ever an issue of suction now. It's like travelling up over plasterboard or something now, Probably a big blob of plaster at the bottom of your drink. There usually is. Usually you get to the bottom of your cup of coffee and find a big rock where Kieran's been knocking something off, and there's crumbs in the bottom of your drink. Choke on them. I think he put some in there on purpose.
Some days.
Talk about finding things in your mix. Remember when we all used to be on site? I was on the building site years ago, and the plasterers work in gangs on sites, so I had my gang of lads, and we'd be in one flat, or apartments as they call them, but they're basically flats. We'd be in one flat, I'd be another gang in another flat, and there'd be a bit of rivalry, because it's like who's the fastest and who's gonna claim, you'd always compete who's gonna have the bottom floor flats, because they're the easiest. They're all worth the same price, but every sort of floor you go up is harder to do, because you've got to carry all your plasterboards up the stairs. So there's a bit of rivalry between you. And one of the things we used to do is go in with a handful of clout nails whilst their lads mixing up, and distract him, talk to him, and as soon as he sort of looks away, throw a handful of clout nails in his bucket of finish whilst he's mixing up. Give it about 10 minutes and you just hear screams coming from their flats. When they start trying to lay a ceiling on or something, and there's flipping clout nails in the mix. be careful when you go in there with your trowel. Don't just whazz it in there like Zorro with your sword, because if you accidentally nick into one of them wires, you'll know about it. Right, so look, here's the fat off the first wet trowel now, and it's like, people always ask me in the comments about the fat, so sorry if this is a bit boring for you, but people actually want to know about this. This stuff now, off the first wet trowel, that's been mixed with water, so the plaster's sort of like diluted now, so that's not as strong. So I wouldn't recommend filling anything with that. So I will put it on the bucket because I've got nowhere else to put it, but I sort of put it on the other side because I don't want to use that. So if I nicked the ceiling, I don't know. So let's just say Kieran carried a plasterboard in here now, right? And because he's nuts, he does do things like this. He'll carry a plasterboard in and stand it up and jab the corner of the board into the ceiling. Great, now we've got a hole in the ceiling. I will use this stuff from the first flattening in to fill it. Yeah, that's why I leave it on the side of the bucket. As you start troweling up, the fat that comes off gets more and more diluted. It's weak, it just doesn't set, it's like dusty, so you can't use that. Time for the second wet trowel now, and you go the opposite direction now. So we've gone this way, now we're going to go up and down as well, just to make sure there's no little hollows anywhere. What you've got to do is, when you come the opposite way, go like a typewriter. So I'll pull this wall back as far as I can, and then I'll go halfway down the ceiling. Well, I'll show you in a minute, but I'll pull it that way in, and that way I'm leaving a line right across there, so when I go forward again and I pull back, I'm covering over that line. It's always about making sure, like I wouldn't just leave that line there. I'll then have to go forward again and come over that to make sure it's gone. People always say to me, why don't you use spray bottles, or you should use a spray bottle cork, you know, like a hose lock spray bottle. And I do use them, I have used them in the past. If this was all brand new wallpaper in here, and we couldn't get any water on the, you know, any dirty water on the walls, then I'd use a clean spray bottle. But the thing with spray bottles is, if you use them permanently, you blow the seals out of them. I think because I pump them up too much, but either way, the seals go on them, and they just become for me a bit of a pain in the backside to use. So I always like using my splash brush, and yeah, you get a little bit of water on the walls and what have you, but we're skimming the walls, so it doesn't really matter. I only really use a spray bottle if I have to, because the walls aren't getting touched, you know, and we can't wipe them down. If we can wipe them down, I'll still use this. Right, so when I've pulled in from that wall, oh, fell off the trestle. I pretend you didn't see that. When I pulled in from that wall, I've reached to about here. So now, that's not halfway, so I can't start that wall and pull into the middle. I'm gonna have to start in the centre of the ceiling. So what you do is make sure you trestle. You want to be able to overlap there. So I want to go from about there and overlap it. So I'm over like that. Now what I'll do is, I'll come right down the ceiling at that point, and then I'll go forward, I'll go right down, and I'll go forward again and overlap this line to get rid of this, okay? So, we call this the typewriter method, because it's like when you're going down a page, you're going across and you go down the next bit. Kids of today won't even know what a typewriter is, but anyway, this is basically how it works. So you're always overlapping the previous trowel line, like that. Oh, watch out for the water drips. Yeah. Pretend you didn't see that, because I never drop anything. Only a little bit of water. So after this now, it'll just be the polish. Now it worked out quite good, that's admittedly, because today, like I said before, I just wanted to do a little video and sort of like, you know, update you where I've been and what's been going on, because we haven't been able to film at the current job that we're on, and we're going back to, we'll be there for another 2 weeks probably, so you might not see much of me after this video. But I didn't have a really an idea for this video until, you know, the unexpected suction situation happened. So it's been good that I've been able to show you something different, and also try and squeeze a few other little tips and stuff in there that I haven't really gone over in the past. So all in all, considering this has been a pain in the backside, we've had quite a productive day, haven't we, because we've been able to make this lovely little video. Just a polish now. Just a quick polish and a quick clean around the edges. We're not going to go too mad cleaning around the edges because these walls are all going to be getting skinned, so we'll just pick any big cruds off, and that'll do it. Who'd want to be a plasterer? Just get them angles cleaned out a little bit as I'm going round. As I said, I'm going to spend time brushing all the angles in and wiping them in, because we're going to be skimming all the walls and we'll get all the angles lovely and neat with them. No point doing it for no reason now, you know, it'll never be seen. That's it. Ceiling done. All finished. Let's just take you down the end. There you go. It's all polished up nice. So tomorrow, let me just spin this round. So tomorrow we'll be back to do the walls. Now, ideally, this was a one-day job. I was supposed to put the ceiling on and all this side of the room, and then the next mix put the other side of the room on, but that's all gone Pete's on now. But the thing is, what you've got to remember is, it's no good rushing a job and all the rest of it. You just do what needs doing. If the job goes over, it's one of those, it goes over. You know, you're better off though, not worrying about it, not getting stressed about it. It is what it is. Leave the job perfect. At the end of the day, the customers will remember, you know, this happened, that happened, it took them longer. They didn't cause any scenes, they just got on with it, and the job's absolutely perfect. You'll get recommended for it in the future. Whinging about it, you know, or trying to rush to get the rest of the walls done, or I don't know, whatever, trying to charge more money and things like that, just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So that's how you deal with it when you have a little issue. It happens sometimes, you know, but that's life, isn't it? So that was it. That was the end of today's job. Absolute flipping nightmare. The ceiling dried in too quick. We had to give it an extra coat. It took too long. By the time we'd finished it, it was about 2:30. There was no time to get another gauge in then. So the fact of the matter was, we wouldn't get all the walls comfortably in another gauge anyway. So I just said, look, that's it. Finish for today. We'll come back to it tomorrow. So top and tail of it all is, I've basically lost the day. I've got to go back tomorrow. I haven't priced for 2 days, only priced for 1 day, but the job's going to take 2 days. Now, you could beat yourself up, you could get all upset about it, but the fact of the matter is, it doesn't really matter. It's only an extra day's work. If you price your jobs right and you consistently make a little bit of profit through the week, then doing an extra day here and there, it's only very rare things like that happen. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's your reputation that's on the line, and you want to be known for consistently turning out top class work, not having little issues and rushing things to get jobs done. So anyway, hope you've learned something from the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed seeing me suffer for the day. Guys, as usual, if you like this video, give me a little thumbs up. If you appreciate the information I'm trying to impart from my mind to you guys, and you want to say thanks and buy me a little beer, there's a link in the description. Also, what date is it? It's the 31st today. You've got till the 4th. If you want me to come and work with you for the day, There's going to be a name drawn out of a hat on the 4th of next month, and I can come and see you. There's a link in the description for that as well. Guys, I've got nothing else to say to you. Have a lovely evening. God bless. Ciao.